In the world of Tom Carper. You know, Tom kids around with me sometimes and calls me him calls himself my wingman, but I'm his wingman. We passed not only the amendment, but some very important legislation implementing it. Actually, we passed the legislation before we passed the amendment. So my best lobbying point on the treaty was, hey, we've already done it. You just might as well go ahead and reaffirm what we did, and it worked. And I'm very, very proud of our work, but I want to give full credit to my friend Tom Carper. He is just a bulldog. And there were times, as I say, we did the legislation before the treaty because the presidential administration at that time was opposed to the treaty, so we decided to go with the bill. And there were some times where I thought, you know, this is hopeless. We'll never get this done. We just can't get the votes. But Tom always picked me up and said, well, we just got to keep talking. And he did a wonderful, wonderful job. And so thank you all for coming out, and thank you for all your help in getting this done. I'm very proud of it. Okay? And I'm sorry to have to run. But committee waits for no senator. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Now, y'all be nice to Tom when he gets here. Okay? I'm happy to listen. I mean, Carper's a bulldog. Don't get on his. He's a fine guy, but don't get on his bad side. Okay? He'll just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. No, man. Thank you. I'm sorry to have to rush. Thanks y'all for coming.
Have fun committee.
Oh yeah. See you later.
Senator Carper is going to be here shortly. He's just sitting in traffic right now, so he'll be here in about 5 minutes, and then we'll get the rest of this. Thanks for your patience.
What do we do?
All right, we'll have you get up here and go ahead and deliver your remarks. If you guys want to stand in order to yeah, if you want to stand over behind Senator Carper, that'd be great.
Like sort of in a semicircle? How's that? Is that good? Is a little semicircle, please?
Okay, sure.
Morning, buddy. Please remain standing. Well, I hope you've had a less eventful day morning than I have. Amtrak let me down. I used to be on the Amtrak board of directors appointed by Governor Clinton, and the train broke down right around New Carrollton, shut down the entire northeast corridor. Just at the middle of rush hour, including my rush hour. So sorry I'm late, and I apologize for that. I also want to thank Senator Kennedy for being here and leading off getting this party started. I used to be a naval flight officer, the last Vietnam veteran serving in the U.S. Senate. I remember after one of our missions in Southeast Asia a million years ago, we used to get the mail in that part of the world. The best day of the week was the day the mail came. I remember I would get Time and Newsweek every week. And I remember reading in Time and Newsweek, both the same issue, same week, that there appeared to be a hole in the ozone. And nobody's really sure what was causing it, but it was concerning. And as days, weeks, months went by, the years went by, the hole in the ozone got bigger and bigger. And there was a lot of concern about what was causing the hole in the ozone. And it turned out ultimately that it was refrigerants, called HFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, that refrigerants in freezers, air conditioners, chillers, whatever, were causing the hole in the ozone. So I had some really smart scientists who went to work and said, well, we'll fix that. And they came up with a new generation of refrigerants, which helped with the hole in the ozone. It stopped getting bigger and started getting smaller. And that was all well and good. The only bad thing is that our planet started getting hotter and hotter and hotter. People started saying, well, what could that be? What could be causing that? And some more really smart people figured out that it was well, we may have fixed the hole in the ozone problem. We now have a planet that was generating a lot of heat and capturing and containing a lot of heat and needed to do something about it. The problem was HFCs, and what we've done is worked with the science community, worked with Democrats and Republicans across the aisle, worked with the private sector, worked with academia to figure out what to do. And the idea is to phase down over time, over 15 years, most of the HFCs that we have. I think we're going to get it down to about 85%, never eliminated it entirely, but about an 85% reduction. This is not a Democrat problem. It's not a Republican problem. It's not just an American problem. It's a problem for the entire planet. I like to quote Albert Einstein. I didn't know him, but Albert Einstein used to ride the train. And Albert Einstein, I think it was in Princeton. I think he taught at Princeton. He used to ride a train, and there's a story about him. One day he was on the train, got on the train at Princeton, and he started looking for his ticket. And they couldn't find it, and he looked and looked and couldn't find it. And he's looking at his trousers, his coat, and everything. And the conductor says, "Dr. Einstein, we know who you are. We know who you are. You don't have to worry about your ticket. We know who you are." And Albert Einstein kept looking for his ticket, and the conductor was about to leave the car that Einstein was in, and he looked back, and Dr. Einstein's on his hands and knees looking for his ticket. The conductor rushes back and says, Dr. Einstein, we know who you are. You don't have to find your ticket. We know who you are." Einstein looks up at him and he says famously, he says, "I know who I am too. I just don't know where I'm going." I just don't know where I'm going. Well, where we're going with this effort is thanks to the business community, the academia, thanks to scientific community. Thanks to a lot of the people, including folks that are standing here with me today, Democrats and Republicans. We know where we're going, and we're going to a safer planet, and one that's a more sustainable planet as we phase down by 85% the HFCs that are causing such havoc in our atmosphere. People talk a lot about the climate change, talk a lot about carbon dioxide, how it's the major culprit. Well, it isn't. It is, but it isn't. But HFCs are about, I think, about 1,000 times or more potent in terms of global warming. Over 1,000. I've heard as much as 2,000, but it's a huge amount. And so there's a big payoff, and it's a payoff that we're beginning to inherit already. So I just want to thank all the folks. This is a team effort. In the Navy, we used to say when we had a real emergency we had to do something about, it was an all-hands-on-deck moment. And this is an all-hands-on-deck moment. But as Einstein used to say, in adversity lies opportunity, and he was right, and he's still right. And in this adversity comes the ability to come up with new science, new job-creating opportunities, the phase down, and something like, I want to say, thousands of jobs are going to flow from this. And in terms of economic opportunity, economic activity for our country, billions of dollars. Thank you, Dr. Einstein. In adversity lies opportunity. We're going to prove it again today, and that's where we are going. All right, and I just want to again commend everybody. Especially want to commend my friend John Neely Kennedy. Neely, why do I call him John Neely Kennedy? Because my wife's father's middle name is Neely, and I always used to call him Star Neely Stacy. So when I met John Neely Kennedy, and he's been Neely ever since. And it's been great being his partner on this, and we thank everyone that's been part of that team. Some other key partners of that team are gathered around me this morning, and I'm going to take a moment and introduce them and ask them to speak as well. Again, I'm not going to introduce Senator Kennedy, that's for sure. But it just when you talk to him, is the staff here?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Let's give them a nice round of applause. Thank you very much. Kennedy Carper seems like probably an unlikely partnership, but we work together on a bunch of stuff. And there's another senator from Louisiana as well, Cassidy, and we work on a lot of stuff as well, and it's a joy to do that. Following me here at the microphone at the podium is Triple D. Is that right? David? And what's your middle name again, David?
Daniel.
Daniel in Lion's Den. So we're kind of like Daniel in the Lion's Den. Daniel in the Lion's Den here with HFCs and CFCs. But there's good news, and the good news is Daniel got out of it alive, and God willing will get out of it alive as well, along with those who follow us. David with the NRDC National Resources Defense Council, they do so much good work. And few people, if any, know more about HFCs than David. In fact, he helped formulate the Montreal Protocol. Is that true? Helped formulate the Montreal Protocol to stop the depletion of the Earth's ozone layer back in 1987 at the age of 21. Is that right? Okay, maybe not 21. But as a kid, he was a youngster. And he's been doing great work ever since. But that is an amazing thing. My wife's always joking me about what I want on my tombstone after I pass away. And I'm actually in pretty good shape. But we have all kinds of ideas like return to sender. I've done a lot of work on the Postal Service. So somebody will say, maybe you should just put return to sender. And I think, David, on your tombstone someday, like 40 years, 50 years from now, when you leave this earth, maybe on your tombstone you could say he helped stop the depletion of the Earth's ozone layer and actually saved the planet. Put your hands together for Triple D. David, Daniel, Doniger. David, thanks, buddy.
Thank you, Senator Carper and Senator Kennedy, who was here earlier. And I'm in costume here today because some 38 or so years ago, while the Reagan administration was working actually towards what became the Montreal Protocol, the Secretary of Interior, Donald Hodel, suggested that what we really needed was a personal protection plan. based on wearing hats and sunglasses. And I have a pair of sunglasses, Senator, that I encourage you to wear later in this press event if you feel comfortable.
It'll be a long time before I wear these in public.
Yeah. All right. Well, so there you are.
Thank you.
So this is a remarkable achievement because, 4 decades ago we started by phasing out the CFCs, as you mentioned. CFCs not only hurt the ozone layer, but they're powerful greenhouse gases, even more so than the HFCs. Some 5,000 times, 10,000 times the strength of CO2. So we took a big step, not only to protect the ozone layer, but to protect the climate. And between these two things, we saved millions of lives around the world already. And since these effects would manifest themselves throughout this century, we've saved people from death and illness that would have come. We probably delayed the global warming by as much as 10 years. So the horrible summer we just had, we would have had 10 years ago. And God knows what we would have had this year. And there was an extra bonus. Not only did the CFCs themselves absorb our heat trapping, but the ultraviolet radiation that they would have let in had we continued with them would have done such damage to trees that the trees would have soaked up a lot less carbon dioxide. So we'd be sort of triply in the soup. And the HFCs are also powerful greenhouse gases. They were okay as an interim because they were better than the CFCs, but now we have better alternatives thanks to continued work by scientists and companies. And it's been a pleasure, relatively speaking, to cooperate with my colleagues to the left here over most of these last 40 years. The industry started in the 70s in sort of the same reflexive anti-regulatory mode that you see with too many industries still today. But in the middle 80s, they changed their tune, and they've been a partner. It's a negotiation, but it's a partnership to move forward on the CFC and the HFC phase downs and save all these people's lives and save the world from even more serious climate change than we've currently experienced. So I'm very happy to be part of this and very happy to have worked with Senators Carper and Kennedy and all the others who made this actual bipartisan legislation and treaty ratification happen. They said it couldn't be done in these days, and these guys did it. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. David, thank you very, very much. When I go to the beach, I go to back there over the Dewey Beach later this month, I'm going to put these sunglasses on, and people say, "Where did you get those?" And I'll say it's a long story. I'll tell you later. But thank you. Oh yeah. Next up is Kevin in the on deck circle. Samantha, in baseball it's the on deck. You're in the on deck circle, and so a word or two, if I could, about Kevin Fay. Kevin's with the Alliance for Responsible Atmospheric Policy, or in some circles they just call it the Alliance. And the Alliance is an industry coalition of producers and users of HFCs engaged in policies aimed at protecting the ozone. Kevin and the Alliance played a critical role in both the enactment of the AIM Act, which Senator Kennedy and I worked on, our staffs worked on, along with John Barrasso. I don't think anybody from Senator Barrasso's team is here, but John's been a good partner in this as well, along with a lot of other colleagues of mine. But to Kevin and the Alliance, thank you for the critical role that you all have played, both in the enactment of the AIM Act and the ratification of the Kigali Amendment. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, a standing ovation, please, for Kevin Fay. Thank you. Kevin, you're on.
Thank you, Senator.
Here you go, buddy.
Thank you, Senator. One quick addition to your Einstein train story. I got on the train in New York without a ticket, and nobody recognized me, and so they threw me off in Newark. So they said, "Well, I guess you're no Einstein."
That's great.
It's a pleasure to be here, Senator, and to Senator Carper, Senator Kennedy, and actually Senator Capito as well. Such great teamwork to commemorate the ratification of the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol. And one footnote on the Alliance, Senator, and for those here, the Alliance actually, we think, was the first ever multi-industry coalition organized around an environment issue, and that was in 1980. David used to refer to us as the fanatical opposition, and then we ruined his reputation by making him the king of collaboration. But I've had the pleasure of working with the Alliance that entire time. But today we'd like to thank Senators Carper, Senator Kennedy, and Capito, and all of our policy supporters, the 69 that voted in favor of ratification. There were actually a few more we would have had as well, for the amazing effort to achieve ratification of the Kigali Amendment, as well as the previous passage of the AIM Act. This act, as you know, assured the authority to implement Kigali in the United States. Kigali ratification, along with AIM Act implementation, is one of the most consequential environmental policy achievements of the last 2 decades. To realize the environmental benefits and the significant economic benefits, including jobs, exports, and U.S. technology leadership, is a testament to the possibilities when we can come together in such strong bipartisan fashion. Last year, after ratification, Chris Grundler, then the director of the EPA Office of Atmospheric Programs, referred to Kigali ratification and implementation made possible under the AIM Act as the most consequential climate change initiative ever implemented by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. It is a remarkable achievement, we acknowledge again today, brought on by the strong bipartisan efforts in the Senate and the House, and the years-long efforts pursued by 3 administrations, actually 4 administrations, including the tireless work of professionals and policy leaders at the Department of State and at the Environmental Protection Agency. There are many others in the business community and among environment NGOs who contributed to the Kigali process over many years. It's important to recognize their contributions in the spirit of cooperation that has been the hallmark of the success of the Montreal Protocol. The Protocol is reputed to be one of the most successful treaties ever negotiated. It is a signature U.S. leadership achievement, but with the Kigali Amendment, it also continues to be one of the most effective climate policies ever adopted around the globe. Our industries are proud to stand behind the successful history of the Protocol's environmental and economic achievements and look forward to continuing to develop and promote energy-efficient low GWP chemicals and technologies. We are confident that this spirit of cooperation will continue. So finally, thank you again, Senator Carper and all your colleagues, for your leadership and your support. Thank you.
Kevin, thank you. Do we have anybody else here part of the Alliance? We just raise your hand if you would. Yeah, let's put our hands together for them. Last but not least, we have Samantha Slater. And Samantha is with the Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Institute, known as, how do you pronounce it, ARA?
No, just
AHRI? HRI.
Yeah.
AHRI represents more than how much? 300? More than 300 manufacturers of air conditioning, heating, commercial or refrigeration, and water heating equipment. Samantha and her team at AHRI have been steadfast in their support for Congress's efforts to phase down HFCs. Samantha, come on up. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you remembering the water heaters as well. That's all right. Thank you, everyone, and good morning. I'm Samantha Slater. I'm Senior Vice President of Government Affairs at AHRI. We represent both equipment manufacturers and the refrigerant producers, and we are proud to have represented the industry portion of the Industry Environmental Partnership that teamed up for this historically successful effort. Ratification of the Kigali Amendment, indeed the creation of the Kigali Amendment itself, was more than a decade in the making, an effort fraught with setbacks and cautious yet hopeful steps forward, but in the end, it all came together, and I want to thank our chief Senate co-sponsors, Senators Carper and Kennedy, and their intrepid staff members, both past and present, for never quitting never wavering, and seeing this through all the way to the end. It's an outcome that AHRI and our 330 member companies have sought for more than a decade. Like its implementing legislation, the AIM Act, also led by Senators Carper and Kennedy, the Kigali Amendment secures a position of strength for American companies in a highly competitive global market for next-generation refrigerant technologies created by American companies and resulting in new U.S. manufacturing jobs and stimulating further investment in the U.S. economy. That alone would be reason enough to support it. But Kigali also creates regulatory certainty for manufacturers, will improve the industry's balance of trade, and will result in greater environmental protection for our customers around the world. This was a team effort, sometimes involving people and organizations that don't always work together on things. And it's important that we recognize what is possible with honest collaboration. Again, thank you to Senators Tom Carper and John Kennedy, and thank you all for your incredible work and energy in this critically important and historical endeavor. Thank you.
We have 2 hours set aside for a Q&A, and then we'll break for lunch, and after that, dinner. But for any questions or comments from our friends, yes. What your hat? Is that a C?
Chicago Bears.
Chicago Bears. How are those Bears doing?
Not well.
I'm sorry.
No time to turn it around.
Well, this will make you feel better. The University of Delaware, which is not a powerhouse in college football, had the misfortune of playing Penn State 2 weeks ago, and the final score was 73-7. Let you guess who had the 73. So you think you're having a tough season?
Hopefully, Casey and Fetterman didn't give you a hard time.
No, not really. All right, go right ahead.
Carver, yeah. So, is cracking down on HFCs, is that somewhere Republicans and Democrats can come together as it pertains to climate change?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I love to do is to find common ground, to reach across the aisle. I've said it probably hundreds of times as a member of the Senate and the House before that, bipartisan solutions or lasting solutions in order to address and turn around climate change and the warming of our planet. We need bipartisan, we need lasting solutions. This is one. And I announced about 3 months ago that I'm not going to run for re-election. I was 17 years old when I first raised my right hand and took an oath to defend our country and Constitution at the height of the Vietnam War. And I have taken that oath again and again and again in this building right behind us. If you read the preamble of the Constitution was first ratified in Delaware. Delaware was the first state. One whole week we were the entire United States of America. But the Constitution sort of lays out some of the what was anticipated and what our leaders needed to focus and get done. And I think they never anticipated climate change. They didn't know that was what was coming. But the spirit of the Constitution is alive and well in that word, in those words. But and that's why I was not going to run for re-election. I also indicated that I'm going to run through the tape. He has a saying in track and field, run through the tape. So a lot I want to get done. It's one thing to write legislation. It's one thing to write treaties, draft treaties, and one thing to write legislation, introduce legislation, maybe pass it in the House, pass it in the Senate. It's another thing to do all that and then get a president to sign it and enact it. And the key here is enactment. We want to make sure that we're enacting the legislation that has great bipartisan support from the business community, environmental community, support from around the world. We need to serve. I learned about leadership a long time ago. Leadership by example. Leadership by example, that's the key. And the role of being a servant, we're servants, not anything else. We need to provide leadership to the rest of the country, the rest of the world. If we're not going to actually do what we say we're going to do, why expect anybody else to do that? Last thing I'll say is we're going to be in a bunch of Ben Cardin's going to lead a congressional delegation to the COP. Is it Dubai? I think it might be in Dubai. And last year was in Egypt. Before that, I think in Scotland. But we'll go to I want us to have a great story to tell. I want us to have a great story to tell to the rest of the world. We're doing our part. This is just one part of it, and to offer encouragement and leadership by example. Thank you. Thank you. Good luck to those Bears.
Same to you.
Anybody else, please? I can give shorter answers. All right. I think that might be it. Are we good? All right. Let's keep up the good work. We've got a great run and start here. Let's carry this ball down the field and into the end zone. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks.